Love Your Body Week. So now we're going to talk about obesity. This is so important. With 40% of Americans obese, 70% of Americans are overweight. I just think it's the biggest crisis that we have had in America. I published 2 studies that showed as your weight goes up, the size and function of the brain goes down. And it's just the biggest brain drain. And it's the whole reason why we call this podcast The Brain Warrior's Way.
And I think it's really important as we go into this that we want, because we've been talking about body shaming and a lot of things, we don't want you to body shame yourself. We don't want you to hate yourself. And we are not doing this from a body shaming perspective. We always want you to focus on being the healthiest person you can be because you love yourself. You have a purpose on this planet and you want to be your best so you can do that. So this is not a shaming thing.
But I want you to have enough anxiety that you get serious about it. It's important. Now, being too thin is a problem.
Yes.
In fact, as you age, there's not that many obese people in their 80s and 90s. What really kills people in the elderly is frailty, right? I mean, you saw that as a nurse in the hospital.
A lot, yeah.
But
not being able to recover.
But you're in a war for the health of your brain and your body. Tana and I talk about in our course, The Brain Warrior's Way, that the real weapons of mass destruction are highly processed, pesticide sprayed, high glycemic, low fiber, food-like substances stored in plastic containers that our food industry has killed way more people than ISIS has thought about. And we need to get serious. And so the idea behind the Brain Warrior's Way podcast is we want to help you be armed, prepared, and aware to win the fight of your life.
Right.
And you see commercials nonstop on TV for Jenny Craig and Nutrisystems and Weight Watchers. And I think all of them sort of miss the boat. You just have to get the packages and read the labels for the packages. And they're loaded with pro-inflammatory ingredients.
Which will ultimately make it worse.
Plus, I think you taught me that if you keep the yo-yo dieting thing, you're actually decreasing the set point of calories in your body so that you can just be eating 800 calories a day and still not.
Yeah, you just yo-yo dieting trashes your metabolism.
Metabolizing things like you want. So in this podcast, what we want to do is really go over, well, what are the rules of brain healthy eating, and also talk a little bit about the types.
Right.
I think that's one of the unique things I've contributed to the world of overeating is everybody's not the same.
Right. What motivates them isn't the same.
Well, that we have
what drives them.
Impulsive overeaters. It's really our attention deficit disorder group. They have low frontal lobe activity, and they don't think about food all the time, but as soon as they pass a Jack in the Box, they're like, oh, I've got to get this or that sandwich or this or that shake or whatever. They don't have good impulse control, and fixing their ADD makes a huge positive difference for them. There are compulsive people where they have that little mouse on an exercise wheel in their head and they can't get off, and they get the same thought over and over again. They walk by the refrigerator and the ice cream's screaming.
Well, and they go sit down, and they're like, I'm not going to do it. And they go sit down and they're doing something else. But in the back of their head, it's just like constantly repeating.
Right. And then there's compulsive people that they have traits of both. And then there are the sad overeaters and the anxious overeaters. So you want to know what your brain type is. And you can go to our free brain health assessment at amenclinics.com, and it'll tell you what brain type you are. And then, there are supplements and behavioral exercises for each type. But ultimately, to get your weight under control, you, one, have to care about your brain. you have to like go, I am not going to. That's how I lost the weight. I mean, like you
Right.
said before.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for a minute because, we don't want people to think, oh, we're just perfect and we've got all the answers. When I met you, you were frustrated. So talk to them about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I
Genetically,
hadn't published a study yet.
but you also have genetics that set you
My
up.
genetics say I should be fat, and my dad's was overweight. My brother's morbidly obese. I have a sister who's morbidly obese. So these genes run in families, and I mean, the most I've ever been overweight is about 30 pounds. But I'm like, why am I fighting this?
But 30 pounds
all
on
the
your
time?
frame is significant. I mean, it's
I
uncomfortable.
mean, it's like, why am I fighting this all the
Right.
time? It's just irritating. And when I published those two studies that show as your weight went up, the size of your brain went down, I'm like, oh no. And
But the first thing you
got
did is made
serious.
sure because you said when you started taking vitamin D, it actually helped.
My appetite went away.
Right.
I mean, and I check vitamin D, the healthy level is 30 to 100. Mine was 17.
And some simple nutrients really helped.
So taking vitamin D really helped. Being married to you really helps because we both have the
same mission and the same goals.
values around food.
Yeah.
And we're not perfect.
No.
But we're really good.
We don't try to be perfect. We focus on what's important to us.
And being healthy is really important. And so over the years, together, we've developed our food rules, which is number one, it's really high quality food. So I think calories really do matter. Calories are like money, but the quality of your calories matters more.
Yes.
Right? So you can go on an 800 calorie a day Twinkie diet and you will lose weight, but you'll be inflamed.
You'll start to gain it back.
It's not right.
Once the inflammation creeps up to a certain point, you begin your metabolism, your hormones get out of balance, and you start to put weight back on.
But if you've chronically had problems with your weight, I know for me, when I gain 5 pounds, actually, for me, it's 3, and it
me
just
too. My window is 3.
irritates me. On my phone, I start counting my calories. I know exactly how much I have in the morning. I know the calories in the almond milk cappuccino I make for 10 every morning. I don't like overspending, and even though we have plenty of money, when I'm at home and I see lights on, it just irritates me. And I hate wasting money. I hate wasting calories because I know they're the currency my body uses to live and to be healthy, and I'm not going to overspend. So that's principle number 1.
So, and I want to point something out. So I've helped a lot of people through this process because based on what you just said, I've helped people lose more than 100 pounds doing this. And they all acknowledge the same thing. And I always tell people it's going in, they don't believe me, but it ends up being true and they love it. When you eat the way we're trying to teach you to eat, like in the Brain Warriors Way, the Brain Warriors Way cookbook, it's our principles for the clinic. You get to eat more, okay? Because that 800 calorie Twinkie diet is messing up your metabolism. It's making you hungrier. You're going to be inflamed and you're going to gain weight. When you eat really healthy, you actually will feel satisfied. You get to eat more and be healthy, but you won't be as hungry. That's the thing.
And that's true, but you can't be dumb.
No. When I say more, I'm not talking about 4,000 calories. 800, though, is not healthy. So that's my point. You get to eat a normal amount of calories. You'll feel satisfied and full, and you won't feel the need to go gorge on food once we get your hormones straightened out.
The second principle is you want to drink lots of water because when you're dehydrated, I just showed the Bill Phillips scan when Bill Phillips, the famous bodybuilder, came to see us. He purposely dehydrated himself for a photo shoot and his brain just looked terrible.
Right.
And so you
there's a lot of
to
studies.
hydrate yourself because your judgment will be better. So drinking water throughout the day can be really helpful. I don't really like drinking water, so I created something for BrainMD called Brain Boost on the Go that it tastes awesome, it's good for you, and it encourages me to drink water.
So 2 really important points that I want to make that make it sort of solidifies it for people, because I know I used to hear like, oh, drink water, it's good for you. I'm like, yeah, so what? It was sort of abstract. This made a difference for me. one study showed that when you are hydrated, because I work out, so when you are hydrated, you are 19% more powerful. Like you are 19% stronger and more powerful. That's huge. That was one. I'm like, wow, that means I'm 19% less strong when I'm dehydrated. That was one. And I like being strong. And the second one was a study done on pilots. And when they were only 2% dehydrated, just 2%, their cognitive functioning was greatly affected. So
you want to give the pilot water
yes.
as you get on the plane. Go,
yes.
Here, hey, have an extra
Drink.
one. Here's what you drink up. The third principle is high quality protein at every meal, because protein helps to balance your blood sugar.
And this means even if you are vegan, you need to have high quality plant-based protein if you're vegan. And
protein is in vegetables, right? Mm-hmm. It's in spinach and broccoli.
You just have to eat a lot more of it, but that's okay because it's not high calorie.
And when we say high quality protein, we generally mean hormone-free, antibiotic-free,
free range,
fed, free range, if you can afford it.
But we want you eating less of it anyways. We want you eating more of a plant-based diet. We don't want 50% of your diet to be like processed meats. That's just not healthy. I don't care how you look at it. So we'd rather you cut back to a smaller percentage of really high quality protein and increase your plants.
So you're saying it's the same cost. So if you eat half the amount, but it's twice the cost, it's the same cost. And
cut out a Starbucks and see what happens. I did the math with my daughter. We were trying to budget. And I'm like, do you realize that if you and I, because we're on the road a lot, so it gets really easy to stop at a Starbucks like several times a day, get an iced tea, whatever. And I'm like, do you realize that if we give up one drink a day, we decided to do this. We together made the decision to do this. One time a day, we're going to not do that. And so we'll figure out another solution. We'll bring something or whatever. It's $300 a month between the two of us.
Wow.
One time a day for the two of us for the month. $300. That's crazy. So I can help you budget.
Well, please do that. I'd be so grateful.
We did.
I'm so
We've
grateful.
been doing it.
The fourth one is healthy fat. Neither of us are fan of low-fat diets because 60% of the solid weight of your brain is fat. And so healthy fat, avocados, nuts and seeds, green leafy vegetables have healthy fat in them.
So I have a really good story. So someone I was talking to up in LA recently, she like recognized this. She's like, oh my gosh, I want to get your book. And we started talking about food. Her husband had a widowmaker heart attack and lived through it, which is just crazy. It's like a really big heart attack.
I thought he was married to someone.
Oh, stop
that
it.
was really
So anyways, he survived it. And so they put him on a really strict diet and he followed it because it was serious. He followed it. He lost a ton of weight but he was eating zero oil. Zero fats and oils. And his cholesterol got down to 110. And all of a sudden, he not only felt frail, but he started to get depressed, like seriously depressed and anxious.
And under 160 is associated with homicide, suicide, depression, and death from
I'm like, you need to read our book.
So you need some. But
not processed fat.
So healthy fat. Fat was demonized in the late 70s and early 80s, and it stayed that way, and the incidence of obesity just skyrocketed.
Well, and they were trying to get rid of the unhealthy fats, and that you should do, but you should not get rid of. They're called essential fatty acids for a reason. You need them.
And when we studied our patients at Amen clinics, 98% of them were low in omega-3 fatty acids. I mean, it's just crazy. So, and then carbs are not the enemy. You know, everyone goes low carb, low carb, low carb. It's low bad carbs. The carbs are they're filled with medicine, plant-based medicine, things called phytonutrients.
Yeah. They're like little anti-cancer agents.
But we really would prefer you to limit or eliminate sugar, bread, pasta, potatoes, and rice, because those quickly turn to sugar in your body, but really ramp up on colorful vegetables, low glycemic fruit. That means fruit that doesn't quickly raise your blood sugar, like dates are off the chart. Bad for you when it comes to sugar. Their sugar content's just so high. Mm-hmm. And then we want you to eat clean. Mm-hmm. Clean is important, and then use spices like medicine. Like cayenne pepper increases blood flow to the brain. Rosemary increases blood flow to the brain. Turmeric has anti-inflammatory properties. And Tana talks about all of this in the Brain Warriors Way and the Brain Warriors Way cookbook.
Yeah, the cookbook is loaded with information.
None of this is hard. And ultimately, it's about love. And, both Tana and I, in the past, we've been in bad relationships. Thank God this has been the best 12 years of my life being with her. But I'm damn sure not going to be in a bad relationship with food. Something that I can control. That I am not going to be in love with any food that does not love me back.
Yeah, no, I have a funny story about this. So after having surgery, I started to get a little wonky and get a little down because I'm used to pretty intense exercise and being busy. And a few weeks after being down, I'm just like, okay, I'm done with this. Like I had brain fog and I didn't feel good and I was tired. And so I started to notice I was getting a little lazy with my diet. Now, for most people, that would still look pretty clean. Still gluten-free and whatever, but I was being lazier, like, right, eating some gluten-free bread and pastas and things like that. And my daughter walks in the kitchen one day and she goes, I have a goal for you. And I'm like, what's that? She goes, you have to live to be 100. And I'm like, what? Like somehow it was like a slap in the face to me that it really pointed out to me that I was being lazy. She goes, yeah, no, you have to take care of yourself because you have to live to be 100. I'm only going to be 65 then. And so I'm like, that... I'm not going to get into that. But anyways, it really was a slap in the face pointing out to me that, it is easy to fall into that rut. But when you're all of a sudden, my goal was the whole reason I do all this was put back in my face by her. It's like, why am I doing all this?
Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to be at a healthy weight? Why do you want to love your body and do the things for it as if you love it? For me, I love my wife. I'm madly in love with my wife. I love my children. I love my grandbabies. I have a new grandbaby.
Oh, she's so cute.
Who's 2 weeks old.
Oh, she's so cute.
And I love the mission we have at BrainMD and Amen clinics. I love my life. I don't want to. And if you're not serious, I had a friend recently who was 61 years
so
old,
sad.
And someone I just adored, and he had a massive heart attack and died. And the heartbreak for me, much worse for his wife and his children and his 600 patients. And it was because he wasn't as serious as he could have been.
People get complacent. They think it's not really going to happen to them.
We get in denial. So we have so many tools for you. If you take our brain health assessment to know your type, go to brainhealthassessment.com or amenclinics.com in the upper right-hand corner. Know your type. There are supplements to help your type. Tana has cookbooks. We have Brain
The
Fit
Brain Warriors Way
Life.
cookbook is great.
All of her recipes are on brainfitlife.com. You can also go to tanaamen.com. We have all sorts of recipes to help you get healthy, to have a
and
better
make it
brain
taste good.
and a
It
better
doesn't
life.
have to be miserable.
There is no suffering
Yeah.
in getting well. People often go, well, was it hard? And they'll go, no, being sick was hard.
Right. And they don't realize it until they start to feel really a lot better. And then they're like, wow, I didn't realize you're miserable. Like Angie, who I helped, she knew she was miserable. She knew she had suffered persecution from being overweight. I helped her lose 103 pounds. She kept it off. Last I heard was 3 years and she was still doing great. And so she was suffering, but she didn't realize how much better she would feel physically. She thought it was going to be the psychological part she'd feel better, but her ailments cleared up. She had energy. She felt so good. And she's like, I didn't realize how bad I felt because I had never felt this good.
Food is medicine or it's poison. Stay with us. Use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or on our supplements at brainmdhealth.com. Thank you for listening to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. Go to iTunes and leave a review, and you'll automatically be entered into a drawing to get a free signed copy of the Brain Warriors Way and the Brain Warriors Way cookbook we give away every month.